In 2008, in a remote area of Siberia, some archaeologists were excavating inside a cave called Denisova. Suddenly, they found a small piece of bone buried in the soil. After examining it, they discovered that it was the bone from the smallest finger of a human hand. When they removed the bone and began researching it, they initially thought that perhaps it was the bone of a Neanderthal who had settled there 400 years ago. But when they conducted DNA and genetic tests, what they discovered completely shocked everyone.
This DNA belonged neither to a Neanderthal nor to Homo sapiens like us. It was the DNA of a completely new kind of human that had never been seen anywhere in the world before that day. Welcome back once again to Nobels creation. Viewers, this tiny bone actually belonged to a young girl who was alive on this land approximately 500 years ago. And because it was found in Denisova Cave, this species was given the name Denisovans.
As soon as this news became known to the world, the scientific community was shaken because the family tree of human evolution that we had created, according to which we humans are Homo sapiens and before us were Neanderthals, that entire tree was completely turned upside down. This discovery proved that there was also a third kind of human in the world who was walking and living on this land alongside us. And the most surprising thing was that these Denisovans were not small or weak people. They possessed abilities that even modern humans do not have.
But despite being such a powerful and advanced species, there is no mention of them in our history books. The biggest twist in this story is that although Denisovans are no longer alive today, their DNA still exists in many living humans around the world. When scientists matched the DNA from the bones found in the cave with the DNA of people from different parts of the world, they discovered that even today, people in Tibet, Mongolia, Papua New Guinea, and Australia have 5% Denisovan DNA in their blood. This simply means that at some point, this mysterious lost species and our ancestors came together and reproduced, passing their genes on to future generations.
But here, one of the biggest questions arises. Neanderthals, who were our other cousins, have left behind countless remains and fossils that have been discovered all over the world. But what about the Denisovans? As evidence of their existence, we have only a small finger bone, some teeth, a jawbone found in the mountains of Tibet, and a skull found in China. That's it. Scientists are puzzled because a species this powerful, one that left traces of its DNA in modern humans, should have left behind many more remains or fossils. But why isn't that the case? In 2010, news about the Denisovans became widely known, and the foundations of human history were shaken. Because before this, the story was very straightforward. Humans originated in Africa and migrated from there to other continents. Neanderthals lived in Europe, and sometimes they came into contact with Homo sapiens, meaning modern humans. But the arrival of the Denisovans has completely complicated this simple story. The DNA found in that cave in Siberia proved that this was not just an ordinary small population. When more of their fossils were found in different regions, such as Tibet and China, it became clear that the Denisovans' reign extended across Asia. They not only established populations there, but also shaped the immune systems, bodies, and even the brains of the people living there. But the extremely small number of fossils is still one of the biggest mysteries today. Now, when experts began scientifically examining the body parts that had been discovered, at first, it seemed that perhaps Denisovans looked just like us humans, but that wasn't the case. The skull found in China, which was given the name Dragon Man, was quite large and appeared abnormal compared with humans. Similarly, when the jawbone found in Tibet is examined, its thickness is twice that of an average modern human jaw. Their teeth were so large that looking at them, it seemed as if they belonged to an animal from another world. The most astonishing thing was the size of their brains. According to scientists, the space for the brain inside a Denisovan skull was approximately 20% larger than ours. This wasn't simply a matter of being larger in size. It meant that their brains may have functioned in a completely different and more advanced way. Does this mean the Denisovans were not ordinary humans, but rather the superhumans who were forgotten over time? It is true that having a larger brain does not always mean that a creature is more intelligent. But when we look deeper into Denisovan DNA, we find a completely different story. Their DNA contains certain neural pathways and genes that control brain development in different ways. This could simply mean that their memory, meaning memory processing, was much greater than ours, and they may have been able to understand complex patterns better than we could. This is truly an astonishing discovery in science, that the abilities of our brains and bodies are not entirely our own. When an average human struggles with a lack of oxygen at an altitude of 10,000 feet, people in Tibet can easily live at 14,000 feet. The secret lies in the EPAS1 gene found in their DNA, which helps their blood absorb oxygen from thin air. Interestingly, this gene does not belong to Homo sapiens originally. We inherited it from the Denisovans, because the DNA from the bones found in the cave also contained the EPAS1 gene. Thousands of years ago, while our ancestors were living in the lowlands, Denisovans adapted their genetics while living at extreme altitudes and in icy mountains. Today, thanks to their DNA, people in Tibet have mastered the ability to survive in difficult conditions. And it wasn't just oxygen. Denisovans also gave future generations another very important gift, and that was an excellent immune system, the ability to fight diseases. When humans in ancient times were dying from new diseases and epidemics, Denisovans were walking around among those outbreaks as if they were nothing more than an ordinary cold. Their genes contained a shield against diseases, which they later passed on to indigenous people in Oceania and Asia. Their immunity was so powerful that some researchers even believe that their cellular degradation, meaning the process of aging, was much slower than ours. In simple words, Denisovans lived much longer than ordinary humans. They did not grow old quickly and remained mentally sharp until the very end. If you combined all these qualities, a powerful body, a large brain, the ability to live in the mountains, a powerful immune system that protects against diseases, and a long life, it creates a blueprint of a more advanced and upgraded form of human. In other words, truly a super civilization. While the discovery of the Denisovans has completely shaken our understanding of human history, their way of life and their ability to make tools have also given us a major shock. The biggest evidence of this is a green-colored bracelet found in 2008 in Denisova Cave in Siberia, known as a chlorite bracelet. At first glance, it looks like a brand new piece of jewelry belonging to a queen. But when carbon dating was performed, it was discovered to be between 50,000 and 70,000 years old. The most astonishing thing about this bracelet was not its shine, but the perfectly round hole in it. Experts believe that such fine polishing and an absolutely straight hole would have been impossible in that era without high-speed rotary drilling. This is the same technology that modern humans discovered thousands of years later. Scientists were stunned to see such engineering in the Stone Age. One expert even went as far as saying that it was exactly like finding a new iPhone inside an ancient Egyptian pyramid. This discovery proves that Denisovans were not only physically strong and genetically unique, but their intellectual and technological development was far beyond what we had imagined. The story doesn't end here. In 2016, a 7-centimeter-long needle made from bone was also found in the same cave, dating back around 500 years.
And amazingly, it had a proper hole for threading. This is the world's oldest needle, proving that while our ancestors were simply wrapping themselves in animal skins, Denisovans were carefully measuring and sewing clothes. Making a finely carved needle proves that their minds understood planning, symmetry, and precision. They also made beautiful beads from ostrich eggs and left several symbolic patterns on stones. The use of symbols directly suggests that they had an established language and an advanced communication system, revealing higher-order thinking in their brains. These discoveries have presented them not as uneducated people simply living in caves, but as an extremely intelligent and skilled species. If these little things haven't amazed you, then get ready to hear something much bigger. Let's travel to the mountainous regions of Asia, where mysteries are buried that no one has been able to explain to this day. Deep inside the dense forests of Siberia is a place called Mount Shoria. Here, you will find stone blocks on the ground so massive and heavy that even if today's most advanced and modern machines tried to lift them, they would give up. Some of these blocks weigh more than 3,000 tons. When you look closely at the edges of these blocks, it appears as if they were cut with incredible precision. Their edges are perfectly straight and cut at right angles. Mainstream geology often dismisses this as a natural process. But one very interesting fact is that this place lies right in the middle of the region that was the original homeland of the Denisovans. Similarly, thousands of perfectly cut stone slabs and enormous stone structures have been discovered throughout Mongolia and Central Asia, which we simply dismiss as natural and move on. These structures exist in places where ordinary humans of that era supposedly did not have either the knowledge or the tools needed to cut mountains of massive stones and connect them together in a specific arrangement. Another astonishing feature of these megalithic sites is that they are aligned with the stars in the sky and the sun. These stones in Mongolia are positioned exactly according to the sunrise and sunset of the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, or they were placed there for some specific purpose. The same method can be seen in the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and Mayan calendars. So just think about it. Did these later civilizations learn all of this completely on their own, or were they following blueprints created by the Denisovans? Now the biggest question arises. If the Denisovans were really this advanced, then how did their species disappear? Why have we found only a handful of their fossils? Here is the surprising thing. If we look at the timeline, the last known Denisovan body was alive until around 4,000 years ago. This was also the period when Homo sapiens, meaning modern humans, had entered Eurasia. History shows that whenever two human species have entered the same territory, only one has survived afterward. Our population was much larger, we were highly aggressive, and we were warriors. Genetics tells us that these groups also married each other and interbred. That's why their DNA still exists today. But despite all this, why did their existence come to an end? Some believe that it was a prehistoric genocide, one of the largest acts of species extermination of that era, in which ordinary humans used their greater numbers and intelligence to erase the influence of this advanced species from the world and suppress their story. But there is one final theory that makes us think even more deeply, and it moves away from the genocide theory. This theory says that the Denisovans, after seeing the conditions of the world and the violence of Homo sapiens, isolated themselves. They hid in the high mountains and deep caves. These were places they already preferred. And then, around 12,800 years ago, a massive catastrophe struck the Earth. Science calls this period the Younger Dryas event. Fireballs falling from the sky, temperatures suddenly rising to extreme levels, ice sheets melting, and massive floods that devastated the entire world. Perhaps this was the moment when this super civilization hidden in the mountains was buried forever beneath the earth, along with all its incredible advancements, remarkable tools, and countless mysteries. All it left behind was a tiny finger bone, which is now telling us the story of their greatness. If an entire super civilization could truly disappear from history, then think about what else we may have lost. And most importantly, how many more mysteries are still buried beneath this land, waiting to come to the surface? I hope you will also give this video plenty of likes and shares. Thank you so much for all your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.